Good afternoon. Welcome to this regular meeting of Smith Falls Town Council for Monday, November 2nd. We have everyone in attendance this evening. I've got two announcements this evening. One, I just want to enlighten the community on last Thursday. You may have noticed that the water tower was lit purple. And it's been done before for Big Brothers Big Sisters, but it was done for Rett syndrome. And lights across Canada were lit for Rett syndrome organization, developmental disorder that causes progressive skills and speech affect and 10,000 predominantly affects added our support to those fighting Rett syndrome, providing support for those with Rett syndrome. Also, our 2-minute wave of silence proclamation, whereas November 11th, 2020 is at the dawn of a century, we hope we'll be blessed with peace. And whereas all Canadians owe a debt to 116,000 brave young men and women who gave their lives to defend our freedom and way of life. And whereas to help secure peace for future generations, we must always remember the sacrifices, especially the young people who were always the first called in times of strife. And whereas the Royal Canadian Legion is asking all Canadians to observe a 2-minute silence at 11 a.m. on November 11th, this silence will begin in Newfoundland and sweep across the country like a wave as the clock strikes 11 a.m. in each time zone. Therefore, be resolved that the Council of the Town of Smith Falls hereby proclaims our support for the 2-minute wave of silence, and further pledge that we will participate in a 2-minute silence at 11 a.m. local time on November 11th, 2020, and we encourage all our citizens of Smith Falls to participate in a 2-minute wave of silence. I will ask for disclosure of monetary interest. I myself will declare an interest in items 8.1, miscellaneous motion on Maisie Street, and the corresponding bylaw 7.1, as I have a pecuniary interest with the proponent in that, in the bylaw, with that motion and that bylaw. I will turn the chair over to Councillor McGuire at that point. Delegations, we have no delegations this evening. We have adoption of minutes, which is with Councillor Brennan, please.
Thank you. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Dwyer, that the minutes of September 21st, 2020 and October 5th, 2020 and October 19th, 2020 council meetings be approved as circulated.
Thank you. It is moved by Councillor Brennan, seconded by Councillor Dwyer, that the minutes of the September 21st, 2020, October 5th, 2020, and October 19th, 2020 council meetings be approved as circulated. All in favor? That is carried. Reports. I will start with Councillor Dwyer, please.
I have none tonight.
Thank you. Councillor Alford.
Thank you, Worship. I'm going to catch up here with reports from the committees I'm on. So the Chamber of Commerce, in September, the Chamber held their election of officers, and Sean Lawrence was acclaimed as president. Christine Fair was acclaimed as vice president, and Kara Phillips was acclaimed as the Chamber's treasurer. After a successful Russell Street Marketplace series in August and September, the Chamber is finding new ways to support local businesses with their Smith Falls Local initiative. In November, December, January, and February, the Chamber visits local businesses to handpick a surprise box of items and deliver them to you. Each item is chosen to bring comfort to your home. Individual months boxes cost between $45 and $55, or you can opt for a 4-month subscription, and you can order at smithfallslocal.ca or give the Chamber a call for information. The November box must be ordered by November 5th for delivery on the 15th, so that deadline's coming up. This is a fun way to help both you and our local businesses navigate this COVID winter. From the Downtown Business Association, the DBA and the coordinator, Jen Provost, have been very busy. Beginning today, the DBA's popular Girls' Night Out has pivoted to Girls' Week Out, which is more appropriate during the pandemic. Between November 2nd and November 8th, each excuse me, of the participating downtown businesses have passports available on site, or you can download one. All this week, if you are browsing, you get a red stamp, which means 1 entry, or if you make a purchase, you get a green stamp, which means 2 entries. All passports must be delivered to the Welcome Center by Monday, November 9th at 9 a.m. to be in the draw for the grand prize of $1,000, which will be held live on Facebook. The DBA's Digital Main Street project continues to assist our businesses to successfully apply for $2,500 grants to help them begin or to enhance their digital presence as another way to overcome the constraints of COVID and pivot to accommodate customers' new approaches to purchasing goods and services. As of October 21st, Gail Girardeau, the digital squad leader, has approached 82 of the approximately 140 downtown businesses. 14 grant applications are in progress and 9 have now been approved. And in addition to the grant program, some businesses have been referred to what they term Beyond Main Street, which allows them to be assisted by experts. There are currently 11 businesses enrolled in the Shop Here program, and 5 are being assisted by the Launch Lab. Other things of note are that the DBA's beautiful fall banners are now on display in the new poles downtown, and the lighting package purchased by the DBA will be going up likely in the next 2 weeks. From the Planning Advisory Committee that both Councillor Brennan and I sit on, we've considered a number of issues in the last recent meetings. Consent application to divide an existing semi-detached on Smiths Falls Avenue, consent application to sever parcel from the back of property at 153 Queen, site plan application for Bellamy Farms Phase 1 Block 2, zoning bylaw amendment for 102 Brockville Street, minor variance at 280 Brockville Street, zoning bylaw amendment for Van Horn Ave, site plan application for Bellamy Farms Phase 1 Blocks 3, 12, and 14. Senior Planner Granky and Planning Coordinator Mary Remick are invaluable to our committee to provide research, recommendations, and guidance to the members, and we appreciate that. And from the Airport Commission, the October meeting's agenda was solely to discuss the operating and capital budgets for the airport, which, after providing some direction to staff, will be incorporated in the town's budget process. That's it, Your Worship.
Good. Thank you. Councillor Allen.
Yes, I have one, Your Worship. The newly formed Accessibility Committee held their first meeting on Thursday, October 29th. Clerk Bennett reviewed the terms of reference and presented an information package from Director Dunlop asking our committee for some feedback on the Lombard-Abbott Street intersection plan in 2021. Our committee gave approval of this proposed accessibility upgrade, the features that were provided, and hope that crosswalks, more of our crosswalks into Smiths Falls will do the same. The fully depressed sidewalks with tactile walking surface indicators at the crossings, enhanced crosswalk markings, the wide hatch that's easy to see, the pedestrian signals, countdown timers, and the push button timers, tactile audible features. It was suggested by someone who was familiar with the time that people require crossing, that perhaps that length of it should be looked at, that they didn't feel it was quite long enough. I would also like to congratulate and welcome Lucy Bingley, who is going to be our chair, and Corey Agnew is going to be our vice chair. We discussed ramps being researched. I know that by 2025, our businesses have to be accessible. And we're hoping that if we could look into some designs and so forth, we could help the DBA and others get accessible. We also talked about perhaps inviting other communities that are ahead of us in terms of accessibility and have them come and chat with us. And our next meeting is November 18th. That's all.
Great, thank you. Councillor McGuire, you're out in the wilderness somewhere. We'll still take a report, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. As you know, we had a Police Services Board meeting last Thursday, October 29th at the rink, and there's lots of business on the agenda. We got the first draft of the 2020 budget was approved by the board. I think there's some, just to clear up any misconceptions out in the public, of the PSB is a governance board. So they approve the board, or they approve the budget, they send it to council. Council can agree with or disagree with the budget. But ultimately, if there was a disagreement between it, it would go to arbitration. So it's not the council setting the police budget, it's the police board that sets the budget, and then council approves the funding. So that will be coming to us on November 23rd with Janet's full budget update. Sorry, just looking at my notes here, the business plan is continuing. That is expected later in the year. We've got no one attending the Police Services Board Fall Conference this year with COVID. We're going to take a break from that one. Two big service awards were given out the day before the meeting. Usually they'd be given out at the meeting, but with COVID this year, it was better to distance if we did it the day before. So Sergeant Paul Klassen got a 30-year pin and is retiring now. So those would be big shoes to fill on the service. And Detective Constable David Rakabochuk was awarded his 20-year pin. So that was a big accomplishment. We got a report on the Health IM system that the police service adopted a year or two ago. That's the computer system in the car that if they get a call that may be related to a mental health issue, they've just got that additional information before they arrive on the scene. So they listed the call volume of mental health calls quarterly. And as we get deeper and deeper into COVID, the call volume is going up, but the apprehension rate is staying below 10%, which is really noteworthy because that apprehension rate is the number of people that have to come with the police to the hospital. So by reducing that number, it reduces the amount of time that it takes to manage the call. And it's also getting those people the services they need. Usually a police officer isn't always the best resource, but the mental health nurse can get in there and get the people the resources they need, so they're better served. The average wait time at the hospital is also staying down around 1 hour and 20 minutes. So that's a big improvement from what the numbers were before. So it was good news coming out of that report. From the manager's report, there's Constable Tompkins is still active in the community. He's been doing a lot of stuff with trying to get into the schools with video chats and very active on Facebook, just trying to make up for the in-person events that aren't happening. But one event that was able to happen was the turkey train that rolled through St. Francis de Sales, and everybody had their masks on and they were outside. And I can say in 1996, I did my turkey train with Kathy Kinch, who the event was in memory of this year. So it was really special. She passed away a couple months ago, and she was a really special lady. She taught me grade 1. And so they were able to do the event in memory of her this year. And I don't have the number in front of me, but I think it was big fundraiser. So for the food bank. Let me double check here. I haven't forgot anything, but I think that is it, unless you've got something to add, Mirpanko. Maybe not. Well, do we have any other reports tonight? Councillor Brennan?
Yeah, just to say that Councillor Alfred had covered the airport, the chamber, and the planning committee that we're both on. But just to add on to what I've been doing, the traffic advisory committee met on October 27th. And I want to thank Vanessa Bernicke, who is our staff contact, who is following up on various concerns in the community and advising the traffic advisory committee. There's been some concerns about traffic on Lee Avenue, Rideau, McEwen, and they've addressed all those very well. On another note, the Traffic Advisory Committee is going to be delving into and providing input onto the active transportation plan that we're going to be working on, and that'll be for both pedestrian movement and cycling. And so we'll be working on that. And I think that this committee is comprised of myself, but more importantly, members of the community that have an in-depth knowledge about our streets and how we can make it better. So we'll be coming back to council in not too distant future with input from this committee, and I think it's a great committee to be on and to be part of. So that's about it.
Thank you. My apologies. My Wi-Fi dropped me from the meeting. I'm glad to be back.
You had a nice smile on your face, at least.
Councillor McKenna, did you have a chance to speak yet?
No, Your Worship, if I may, just wanted to report, as you know, I'm on the Leeds, Grenville, and Lanark Public Health Unit Board. They've continued to do exceptional job during COVID, and they do have a significant deficit that we're monitoring very closely. There's a finance meeting this week. There is optimism that the province will help them out. This deficit is COVID related. But we'll be watching that one closely as each municipality contributes now 30% of the health unit budget. So we'll be watching that one closely. And finally, along with my fellow councillors, I had the opportunity to tour the model suite at the Rita Hotel last week, and it's congratulations to Parkview Homes for that restoration. It's an exceptional facility. I really look forward to the final touches, but just want to congratulate them. It was such a treat to be inside it and to see what they've done with that historic building. Thank you, Your Worship.
Great, thank you. And I'm not sure if anybody mentioned, but it's happy birthday, Councillor Brennan, tonight. We'll make sure that everyone knows that.
Thank you very much.
Through 20 the regular meeting of the Conservation Authority, which was passed approving the submission of one or more funding applications to the National Disaster Mitigation Program, Intake 6. Which could request up to $500,000 per project. So the RBCA is working with other Eastern Ontario conservation authorities to seek funding. The primary focus of the application will be to acquire a LiDAR service. And this LiDAR stands for light detection and ranging. And it's a remote sensing method that uses light in the form of pulsed laser to measure ranges, variable distances to Earth. If the funding is secured, it will enable LiDAR mapping of the watershed area, and the town could actually also get LiDAR completed here for a modest cost. The 2021 preliminary budget
Oh, Sean, we've lost you again, Mayor Panko. Councillor McGuire, I'll have you proceed with the meeting, and I'll see if we can get Mayor Panko back on.
All right, the LiDAR project is really exciting. We're also involved with the Mississippi Valley Conservation Authority. It's really cool because you fly a plane over and it sends these beams down, and it can get it down to like centimeter accuracy. So why that's important is because with climate change and increasing frequency of intense events like heavy rainfalls, we really want to know what the elevations are so that we can do floodplain mapping and all those important things to protect property and the like. So I don't see, oh, I guess Mayor Panko's gone. So we will move into reports. We've got 8.1. Mayor Panko has declared a conflict of interest on this, or disclosure of monetary interest on this one anyway, so we will proceed without him. And Councillor Dwyer, you have the motion.
Thank you. Moved myself and seconded by Councillor Brennan that Council of the Corporation of the Town of Smiths Falls award the request for proposal numbered 20-ED-01 for the purchase and development of town-owned land at 3, 5, 7, and 9 Maisie Street, Smiths Falls, to Sean Crosby in the amount of $60,000.
Thank you, Councillor Dwyer. And who is that seconded by?
Councillor Brennan.
All right, so moved by Councillor Dwyer, seconded by Councillor Brennan, that the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Smiths Falls award request for proposal 20-ED-01 for the purchase and development of town-owned land at 3, 5, 7, and 9 Maisie Street, Smiths Falls, to Sean Crosby in the amount of $60,000. Discussion, Councillor Dwyer.
Thank you. This is the first in a series of motions respecting a tender that the municipality released for certain lands that we own on Maisie Street. They're vacant lands, and I believe this is not the first tender that we have circulated with respect to their sale. Mr. Crosby expressed an interest in the RFP, which was scored and rated in accordance with the provisions described therein, and his proposal scored the highest.
Thank you, Councillor Dwyer. Any further discussion? So all those in favor of 8.1? Looks like the motion is carried. So we will now move on to bylaws. We've got 7.1. Is Mayor Panko back on the call? No.
Yeah. Oh, yes, but I've declared an interest in 7.1 as well. If you can.
Oh, sorry, it's
please.
the same one.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll go to Councillor Alford this time.
Thank you, Acting Mayor McGuire. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Allen, that a bylaw to authorize execution of a purchase and sale agreement with Sean Crosby respecting the properties known as 3, 5, 7, and 9 Maisie Street, Smiths Falls, be read a first time and taken as read a second time.
All right, thank you, Councillor Alford. Nadine, do we vote on that before we have discussion, or?
So she has read it. Now you ask for discussion.
Okay. Discussion, Councillor Alford?
Yes, this follows up on Councillor Dwyer's motion. Mr. Crosby proposes to build a 2-story commercial building with space for 4 small businesses to operate on the main floor and for 6 apartment units on the second floor. 2 of the main floor spaces have already apparently been spoken for, which is good news. He plans to start clearing this lot soon. And this is, as Councillor Dwyer said, town-owned property that now staff can now execute the purchase or the sale agreement.
Okay, so now Councillor McGuire, you'll do first and second reading.
And that was seconded by, sorry.
Councillor Allen.
Allen. Okay, so moved by Councillor Alford, seconded by Councillor Allen, that a bylaw to authorize execution of a purchase and sale agreement with Sean Crosby respecting the properties known as 3, 5, 7, and 9 Maisie Street, Smith Falls, be read a first time and taken as read a second time. All those in favor? Carried. So.
And then now we can have Councillor Alford do third reading.
Thank you. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Allen, that a bylaw to authorize execution of a purchase and sale agreement with Sean Crosby respecting the properties known as 3, 5, 7, and 9 Maisie Street, Smiths Falls, be now read a third time and finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 10186-2020.
Thank you, Councillor Alford. So moved by Councillor Alford, seconded by Councillor Allen, that a bylaw to authorize execution of a purchase and sale agreement with Sean Crosby respecting the properties known as 3, 5, 7, and 9 Maisie Street, Smith Falls, be now read a third time and finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 10186-2020. All those in favor? Great, so that is carried, and now we can return to Mayor Panko.
Okay, thank you. I will circle back before we move on with the initial bylaws just to finish my report. So I'm not sure where I dropped off, but did I mention KFC? Was that, people mentioned, hear that? Okay. No? Okay, I apologize. On October 23rd, I attended the grand opening of the new KFC, and it's great to see the investment and commitment to our community from Soul Foods. And anybody who's been by there and since the opening has seen that the people of Smiths Falls have long been waiting the opportunity to reload with KFC. It's been a very busy spot, so we appreciate that investment in our community. October 27th, last Tuesday, I attended the regular meeting of the Smiths Falls, the Board of Directors of the Perth and Smiths Falls District Hospital. COVID-19 related financial issues have been a challenge, and as of September 30th, the hospital is running about a $2.6 million deficit in this fiscal year due to $1.3 million in outstanding COVID expenses that have not been reimbursed by the province, and another $1.3 million in lost revenue. There are additional COVID capital costs and amount of another $200,000. The hospital has received reimbursement for COVID expenses for March and April in the amount of $405,000, but has yet to have confirmation from the province for the balance. One of the greatest risks pertains to that lost revenue, and although surgical procedures have been ramped up, the overall loss of revenue in the fiscal year will be significant. The hospital has yet to receive any indication from the province as to what it could expect in regards to reimbursement of lost revenue. So definitely a very challenging time for our hospital. The COVID-19 Assessment Center in Smiths Falls continues to operate 7 days a week using an employment-based approach. Over 9,300 tests have been completed since March 2020. The province has recently indicated that a new funding model is expected was effective October 1st, based on standard rate per test completed with minimum 50 tests required daily. So that is a goal they've been reaching for. Last Friday, October 30th, I attended the meeting of the Eastern Ontario Mayor's Caucus. We received a presentation on the Renfrew County Virtual Triage Assessment Center. And this unique initiative arose earlier in the pandemic as a collaboration between public health primary care, hospitals, and community paramedics. And the Virtual Triage Assessment Center led to virtual medical centers staffed by nurse practitioners, family physicians, and paramedics. And although it started as a method of providing access to COVID testing, quickly expanded to encompass non-urgent medical conditions in an efficient, cost-effective manner in an area which has had a shortage of family physicians. It was a pretty unique proposition which has been shared in the province and maybe a model that could take root elsewhere. The EOMC also assessed its priorities for the 2021 years. Our collective commitment on building a healthy, strong, and resilient Eastern Ontario priorities have included and continue to include long-term care, investment in mental health and addiction support, continued focus and investment in housing affordability, municipal COVID financial support in 2021, investment into Eastern Ontario economic development through the Eastern Ontario Leadership Council, targeted municipal infrastructure investment, expansion of the 401, 417 in Eastern Ontario, investment in transit, and focus on climate change and the environment. So the UMC continues to meet on a periodic basis to move forward with these common objectives of the partner municipalities. And that's it for my report. Moving on, we have some more bylaws to address. Councillor McKenna, you're up next.
Thank you, Your Worship. So moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Alford that a bylaw to authorize an application under the Connecting Links Program 2021-2022 be read a first time and taken as read a second time.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor McKenna, second by Councillor Alford. The bylaw to authorize an application under the Connecting Links Program in brackets 2021-2022 be read first time and taken as read a second time. All in favor? That's carried. Discussion, Councillor McKenna?
Yes, the Connecting Links application at the Committee of the Whole last week, we decided to apply for the funding for phase 2 of the Beckwith Street redevelopment. The estimate on the work is $2,105,000. If we're successful with the Connecting Link application, the province would pay up to 90% of the eligible costs, or approximately $1.9 million. If approved, the work would need to be completed before December 2023. And Smith Falls is one of only 77 municipalities that are eligible to apply for the $30 million fund. And so we're pretty excited, and we've got our fingers crossed that the phase 2 funding would be funded under this Connecting Links program.
Great, thank you. Any further discussion? May I have a third reading, please?
Yes, moved by myself, second by Councillor Alford, that a bylaw to authorize application under the Connecting Links program be now read a third time and finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 10187-2020.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor McKenna, second by Councillor Alford, that a bylaw to authorize application under the Connecting Links program in brackets 2021 to 2022 be now read a third time and finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 10187-2020. All in favor? That's carried. Councillor Allen, you have the next bylaw.
Yes, moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Alford, that a bylaw to adopt the terms of reference for the Racism and Discrimination Task Force be read a first time and taken as read a second time.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Allen, seconded by Councillor Alford, that a bylaw to adopt the terms of reference for the Racism and Discrimination Task Force be read a first time and taken as read a second time. All in favor? That's carried. Discussion, Councillor Allen?
Yes, this is task force that I think will direct us and guide us so that our community is welcoming and inclusive to all members of our society. And we have a terms of reference and we have a direction. Now we need some volunteers. And there is the task force membership has been suggested as a mayor or designate, one member of town council, resident representatives, stakeholder representatives, one staff liaison, and a Smiths Falls Police Service person. So we're hoping that committee will soon form.
Thank you. Any further discussion? May I have a third reading, please?
Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Alford that a bylaw to adopt the terms of reference for the Racism and Discrimination Task Force be now read a third time and finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 10188-2020.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Allen, seconded by Councillor Alford, that a bylaw to adopt the terms of reference for the Racism and Discrimination Task Force be now read a third time and finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 10188-2020. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Councillor McGuire, you have our next bylaw.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Dwyer that a bylaw to authorize execution of a site plan control agreement with 168-6994 Ontario Inc., Parkview Homes, respecting the property described as Block 2 of Plan 27M-83 and known locally as part of the Bellamy Farm subdivision be read a first time and taken as read a second time.
Thank you. And sorry, seconder was?
Councillor Dwyer.
Dwyer, thank you. Moved by Councillor McGuire, seconded by Councillor Dwyer, that a bylaw to authorize execution of a site plan control agreement with 168-6994 Ontario Inc. and brackets Parkview Homes, respecting the property described as Block 2 of Plan 27M-83 and known locally as part of the Bellamy Farm subdivision, be read a first time and taken as read a second time. All in favor? That's carried. Discussion, Councillor McGuire?
So this project's moving ahead very quickly. Now it can be seen from Highway 15 coming into town. And this is a lot that's going to border on the Cataraqui Trail. So there's a 2-meter fence that's going to go along the back for privacy. And it will continue another square field in the Bellamy Farms project. So.
Thank you. Any further discussion? May I have a third reading, please?
Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Dwyer that a bylaw to authorize execution of a site plan control agreement with 168-6994 Ontario Inc., Parkview Homes, respecting the property described as Block 2 of Plan 27M-83 and known locally as part of the Bellamy Farm subdivision be now read a third time and finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 10189-2020.
Thank you. It's moved by Councillor McGuire, seconded by Councillor Dwyer, that a bylaw to authorize execution of a site plan control agreement with 168-6994 Ontario Inc. in brackets Parkview Homes, respecting the property described as Block 2 of Plan 27M-83 and known locally as part of the Bellamy Farm subdivision, be now read a third time and finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 10189-2020. All in favor? That's carried. Councillor Brennan, you're up next.
Thank you. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor McGuire, that a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Smith Falls at its meetings held on the 5th and 19th day of October 2020 be read a first time and taken as read a second time.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Brennan, second by Councillor McGuire, that a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Smith Falls at its meetings held on the 5th and 19th days of October 2020 be read a first time and taken as read a second time. All in favor? That's carried. Discussion, Councillor Brennan?
It's procedural, and but it does ensure that the minutes will be posted and for public view. So we need to do this.
Maybe a third reading, please.
Thank you. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor McGuire, that a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Smith Falls at its meetings held on the 5th and 19th day of October 2020 be now read a third time and finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 10190-2020.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Brennan, second by Councillor McGuire, that a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Smith Falls at its meetings held on the 5th and 19th days of October 2020 be now read a third time and finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 10190-2020. All in favor? That's carried. Councillor Dwyer, you're up next.
Thank you. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor McGuire, whereas on March 2nd, 2020, the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Smith Falls granted draft approval for the draft plan of subdivision described as Maple Ridge subdivision, and the draft approval was subject to various conditions to regulate the development. And whereas the applicant requested the approval authority amend the conditions of draft approval to accommodate changes to the phasing plan. And whereas Section 51, Sub 44 of the Ontario Planning Act allows the approval authority to change the conditions of draft approval prior to granting final approval. Now, therefore, be it resolved that Council amends the conditions of draft approval for the lands described as Plan 248, Part Block A, Registered Plan 27R 2715, being Part 2, Part Lot 1, and that the new draft plan approval conditions are as outlined in attachment A.
Thank you. Discussion, Councillor Dwyer?
Sorry, excuse me. This is the second part of a motion presented earlier this evening respecting the approval of Maple Ridge subdivision. So as the motion states, this is a subdivision that had previously received draft approval by the town, but the developer has indicated a desire to rejig the phasing plan, and rather than starting on the south end of the subdivision, they are seeking approval to start on the north end. The planning department has indicated that they have no objections to revising the phasing amendment of the plan, and thus council is passing an amendment to the draft decision previously passed by council.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Moved by Councillor Dwyer, seconded by Councillor McGuire. Whereas on March 2nd, 2020, the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Smith Falls granted draft approval for a draft plan of subdivision described as Maple Ridge subdivision, and the draft approval was subject to various conditions to regulate the development. And whereas the applicant requested that the approval authority amend the conditions of the draft approval to accommodate changes to the phasing plan, and whereas Section 51 in brackets 44 of the Ontario Planning Act allows an approval authority to change the conditions of a draft approval prior to the granting of final approval. Now therefore be resolved that council amends the conditions of draft approval for the lands described as Plan 248, Part Block A, RP 27R 2715, Part 2, Part Lot, Part 1, and the new draft approval conditions are outlined in attachment A. All in favor? Great, that's carried. And Councillor Alford, you've got the final motion.
Thank you, Your Worship. I move by myself, seconded by Councillor McKenna, that the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Smith Falls received the 2019 Fire Department Annual Report as prepared by Fire Chief Rick Cheeseborough.
Thank you. Discussion, please.
This is the Chief's first annual report since joining the town of Smith Falls, and a copy of that annual report is available on the town's website. The town is protected by a composite department of 6 full-time and 18 volunteers. And the men and women of this department are a dedicated and skilled group of individuals that respond to a wide range of emergency calls, which in 2019 were totaled 245 emergency and non-emergency fire calls, which represents an 8.9 increase over 2018. Also, I take this opportunity to say I'm sure our fire department is relieved to be in their newly renovated space, and I recall our council orientation when we toured the fire hall. I'm sure the rest of council would agree that we're also happy to have our valuable fire staff in much better quarters now.
Yes, thank you. Any further discussion? Moved by Councillor Alford, second by Councillor McKenna, that the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Smith Falls receive the 2019 Fire Department Annual Report as prepared by Fire Chief Rick Cheeseborough. All in favor? That's carried. Inquiries or announcements? Councillor McKenna?
Yes, Your Worship. I just want to see if my colleagues would be interested in this. The Leonard County has hired a climate change coordinator to implement a number of initiatives that that are going on around our community, and it's very interesting the work they're doing. And I wondered in the future if council would be interested in having a delegation from the climate change coordinator and hear some of the work that she's doing. And if so, we could follow up with that.
Certainly, that's something that I think our CAO has been speaking to the county CAO as well about our commitment to the Partners for Climate Protection and utilizing this. So yeah, I'm sure he's listening, Nadine's listening, we can get that arranged.
And if I may, one more, I just
Yes.
want to wish our American friends good luck tomorrow. I wish them a safe and peaceful transition as they go out to vote tomorrow, and I hope that everything goes super for them down there. I'm
Thank
sure
you.
we all hope that. Yeah.
Absolutely. Any other inquiries or announcements? Councillor McGuire.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just wanted to announce that it's Crime Prevention Week from the 1st to the 8th. So yeah, there'll be a social media presence because the usual events won't be happening, but this is Crime Prevention Week.
Okay, so anybody listening, no crimes this week.
There you go.
Councillor Brennan, did you have something as well?
Well, we usually do like a trivia thing. I don't know if Lorraine has
I do.
got one.
I do.
Okay, good.
Okay.
All right.
I'll be in the hopper.
Well,
I got a great one for next
This
week.
is a
Okay.
this is a two-part answer. So I want you to tell us what club was organized in 1922 thanks to the efforts of Dr. W.S. Murphy, the club's first president. He perceived the idea of forming a local club to be composed of leading professionals and businessmen. So what club and where did they hold their weekly luncheon meetings at 12:30 once a week?
At the
I think
Rito
Councillor
Hotel.
McKenna was there first.
I know it's the
Yeah.
Rotary.
Yes.
Well, Jake got the first part at the Rito Hotel.
Yes.
So that's
Yes,
100
and-
years.
What club?
Rotary.
Miss Doc. Pardon?
Rotary Club.
Councillor Brennan, do you know the club?
Rotary Club.
That's right. That's right.
So
And
the Rotary.
I thought it would be good to do something about the. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just thinking, I wanted people to know too, Councillor McKenna mentioned this, but we had the honor of going through the first suite that's open at Hotel Rito. And if you haven't had a chance, you can book appointments, go and see it. It's going to be wonderful. And I think everybody should take an opportunity to do that. Go ahead, Councillor Brennan.
Thanks for that. And thanks for that question because 2022 is going to be the 100th year anniversary. And I'll let you know that the Rotary Club is still alive and well. And we're in fact going through a strategic plan right now, given the times that we're in and are at the age of our club. And I must thank one of our newer members, Barry Guppy, for leading us through that. And we're in the midst of it. So stay tuned, but we're going to be alive and well, hopefully for another 100 years.
Wonderful. Thank you. Anything further? Councillor McKenna, you have a motion for adjournment.
Yes, moved by myself. Do I need a seconder?
Yes.
Yeah, seconded by Councillor Birthday Boy Jay Brennan, that this council adjourn its proceedings at 5:46 and stand so adjourned until the next duly called meeting of council.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor McKenna, second by Councillor Birthday Boy Jay Brennan. This council adjourns proceedings at 5:46 p.m. Stands to adjourn the next duly called meeting of council. All in
Stop
favor?
reminding me.
Okay, go blow out those. I won't say how many candles.
61.